Most people turn 45 and feel it. Not a big dramatic moment, just this quiet, uncomfortable feeling. Like they've been doing everything right, but somehow still feel behind. They've got a job, maybe a house, a retirement account with something in it, but they don't actually know if they're on track. And that's the real problem. Nobody ever gave them a clear picture of what financially healthy looks like at 45. 8 milestones by age 45. Most people hit maybe 2 or 3 without even realizing it. And after this video, you'll know exactly which ones you're missing. My name is Ricky, and I spend way too much time thinking about personal finance. If you're someone who's working hard, doing your best, but still wondering if you're actually ahead or falling behind, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Here's what nobody talks about. There's this weird thing that happens in your late 30s and early 40s. You stop asking, how do I make more money? And you start asking something scarier. Is this enough? And that question, it sits with you. You're driving to work, you're lying in bed at night, you're looking at your bank account on a Tuesday afternoon, and you feel this low-level anxiety you just can't shake. Because you don't have a benchmark. Nobody handed you a checklist. Nobody sat you down at 25 and said, here's exactly where you need to be by 45. So most people just guess. They compare themselves to their neighbor, their coworker, their cousin who seems to have it all figured out. And that comparison never makes you feel better, ever. Look, I talk to a lot of people about money. And the number one thing I hear from people in their late 30s and 40s isn't, I don't make enough money. It's, I don't know if what I have is enough. That's a completely different problem. And it's actually more dangerous because when you don't have clarity, you make emotional decisions. You either panic and do nothing, or you take random shots and hope something works. Neither one is a strategy. Here's the thing though, this isn't your fault. Most of us were never taught this stuff. School taught us algebra. It taught us the water cycle. It did not teach us what our net worth should look like at 45. So we figure it out as we go. And somewhere along the way, we pick up these vague ideas: save for retirement, don't have too much debt, own a home. But here's the honest truth. Vague ideas don't build financial security. Specific milestones do. And the people who feel the most financially confident, they're not always the ones making the most money. They're the ones who know exactly where they stand. They've got a number, they've got a target. They know which milestone they're on and what comes next. That feeling of clarity, it changes everything. It changes how you spend, how you save, how you think about your future. And that's exactly what this video is about. 8 financial milestones you should be working toward by age 45. Not to make you feel guilty about where you are right now, but to give you that map, that clarity, so you finally stop guessing and start moving with intention. Okay, so here's where I need to challenge something. A lot of people think financial milestones are about income, like, I'll hit these goals once I'm making more money. And I get it, that feels logical. But here's what most people don't realize. Income is not the milestone. What you keep is the milestone. There are people making $120,000 a year who are completely broke, and there are people making $55,000 a year who are quietly building real wealth. The difference isn't the paycheck, it's the behavior around the paycheck. See, most people treat every raise like permission to upgrade their life. New salary, new car, bigger bonus, bigger vacation. And that cycle keeps them exactly where they started, just with nicer stuff. That's exactly what these milestones break. Because when you have a clear target, you stop measuring success by what you earn and start measuring it by what you're building. That shift sounds small. It is not small. It's one of the biggest psychological changes you can make with money. Now, you might be thinking, Ricky, I already know I should save more. That's not new information. And you're right, it's not.
But knowing and doing are two completely different things. And the reason most people don't do it isn't laziness. It's that they don't have a clear enough picture of what they're building toward. These 8 milestones give you that picture. All right, let's get into it. Milestone 1. An emergency fund that actually covers emergencies. This one sounds basic, and it is, but most people still don't have it. According to a Federal Reserve survey, nearly 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. $400. So if you're 45 and you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, that's a real milestone. Don't take it for granted. Milestone 2, no high-interest consumer debt. Credit card debt at 20, 22, 24% interest, that's not a debt problem, that's a financial emergency wearing regular clothes. If you're carrying $8,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and only paying the minimum, you're paying over $1,700 a year just in interest, every single year, just to stay in the same place. By 45, that chapter should be behind you. Milestone 3, your mortgage is manageable. Now, I'm not saying you need to own a home. That's a whole different conversation. But if you do have a mortgage, by 45, your housing payment should be somewhere around 25 to 30% of your take-home pay. Not 45, not 50. When housing eats too much of your income, everything else gets squeezed. Savings, investing, retirement, all of it. Milestone 4. You've started investing, not thinking about it, actually doing it. Contributing to a 401k, an IRA, or a brokerage account, consistently. Even if the amounts feel small right now, the habit is the milestone. And here's why that matters more than people realize. Every year you delay isn't just 1 year of missed returns, it's compound growth that never gets the chance to start. The habit you build today is the foundation everything else sits on. Time in the market is the asset, and by 45, you should already have years of that asset quietly working for you.
Let's keep going. Milestone 5.
Your net worth is moving in the right direction. Net worth is simple: what you own minus what you owe, assets minus liabilities. A common benchmark is having roughly 3 times your annual salary saved by age 45. So if you're making $60,000 a year, the target is around $180,000. Retirement accounts, savings, home equity, investments, combined. Does that number make you nervous? That's okay. It's a target, not a verdict. What matters most right now is that the number is growing year over year. Direction beats perfection every time.
Milestone 6. You've got a plan for retirement. Not a wish, an actual plan. This means you know roughly what you need to retire, you know what you're currently contributing, and you understand the gap between those two things. Most people have a vague idea they'll figure it out later, but at 45, later is getting close. If you retire at 65, you've got 20 years. That's a solid runway, but only if you use it. The S&P 500 has historically returned around 7% annually after inflation. So if you start investing $500 a month at 45, in 20 years, you're looking at roughly $260,000 from those contributions alone. Start that same $500 a month at 35 instead, and you're closer to $567,000. 10 years, $300,000 difference. Let that sit for a second. Milestone 7. Your income has more than one source. Not necessarily a side business, could be dividends from investments, occasional freelance work, a skill you consult on a few times a year. Here's the thing about one income stream. It's fragile. One layoff, one health issue, one company restructure, and everything stops. 2 streams is stable. 3 is where real financial breathing room begins. By 45, building that second stream shouldn't be a someday idea. It should be an active goal. Let me make this real for you. Meet Danielle. She's 44, project manager, making $72,000 a year.
On paper, she looks fine. Stable job, nice apartment, a 401k she's been contributing to since her early 30s. But Danielle has never actually sat down and calculated her full net worth, like opened a spreadsheet and added everything up. When she finally does, she's at about $95,000 between her retirement account and a small savings balance. The benchmark for her income closer to $216,000. She's behind, not catastrophically, but meaningfully. And here's what's interesting about Danielle. She doesn't panic, because now she has a number and a number you can work with. She bumps her 401k contribution by 3%. She cancels 2 subscriptions she forgot she even had. She moves her savings into a high-yield account and sets up an automatic transfer.
Nothing dramatic, just clear, intentional moves toward a specific target. Now, meet Jerome. He's 47, similar income range, but Jerome has a detail that makes him feel real. He's been meaning to sort out his finances since his second kid was born. That was 9 years ago. Every January, he tells himself this is the year he gets serious. And every March, life happens. The kid's sports fees, a car repair, a week where work was brutal and he just didn't have the bandwidth. Jerome isn't lazy, he's just never had a milestone to aim at. He's got about $38,000 in retirement savings, some lingering credit card debt, no second income, no real plan. The gap between Danielle and Jerome isn't income, it's not even intelligence. It's whether they ever stopped and asked, "Where am I actually?" That moment of honest assessment, uncomfortable as it is, that's the only thing that creates real movement. Okay, I want to stop here for a second, because there's something most financial videos don't say out loud, and I think it needs to be said. Hitting every single one of these milestones by exactly age 45, that's not the goal. I know, sounds weird coming from a video called 8 Financial Milestones You Should Hit by Age 45. But here's what I actually mean. These milestones are directional. They're a compass, not a deadline. The real danger isn't missing a milestone. The real danger is not knowing you missed it. Because when you don't track, you drift. And drifting financially at 45 has consequences that are genuinely hard to reverse at 55. Here's a number most people don't talk about. The average American retires with about $87,000 in savings. Total. Not per year. Total for their entire retirement. If you spend $40,000 a year in retirement, that lasts about 2 years. 2 years. That's not a retirement. That's a very stressful extended vacation. And the reason most people end up there isn't bad luck. It's decades of drifting without a milestone framework. No benchmark, no target, no moment where they stopped and asked, "Am I actually on track?" This is where it gets really interesting, though. The people who retire with real financial security, most of them aren't geniuses. They didn't time the market. They didn't get lucky with one big bet. They didn't inherit generational wealth. They just knew their milestones, and they checked in on them regularly. That's it. Consistency plus clarity beats income almost every time. So wherever you are right now, the most important thing you can do is simply know where you stand. That awareness alone changes everything. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention. The psychology behind why people hit these milestones or don't. Because the math is actually the easy part. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference, repeat. For decades. That's it. That's the whole formula. But if it's that simple, why don't more people follow through? Because money isn't really about math. It's about identity. The way you spend money reflects who you think you are and who you think you deserve to be. Some people subconsciously believe they're not the type to be wealthy. So every time they start building savings, something happens. A purchase, a vacation, an "I deserve this" moment, and the savings disappears. Not out of negligence, out of a deeply held belief that they're not supposed to have it. That's a mindset problem, not a math problem. The people who consistently hit financial milestones, they've made a quiet identity shift. They stopped seeing themselves as someone trying to be good with money, and they started seeing themselves as someone who simply is good with money. That one shift changes every small decision. The impulse purchase, the "I'll start next month" conversation, the way you respond when an unexpected expense shows up. All of it looks different when your identity is aligned with where you're going. Here's the long-term reality. The habits you build between 35 and 45 are the habits that determine your financial life at 55 and 65. Not the income, not the market timing, the habits. And the beautiful thing about habits is they compound just like money does. One good financial decision makes the next one slightly easier. One milestone hit makes the next one feel more reachable. That momentum, it builds quietly, over years, over decades. And then one day you look up and realize you're not behind anymore. You're not stressed about money the way you used to be. You've got options you didn't have before. Choices that used to feel impossible suddenly feel normal. That's what the milestone framework builds toward. Not just a bigger number in an account, a different relationship with money entirely. The window doesn't close at 45, but it does start to narrow. And the best time to get serious about this is always right now. All right, let's bring it home. We covered 8 milestones today: emergency fund, no high-interest debt, manageable mortgage, active investing, growing net worth, a real retirement plan, a second income stream, and the one that ties all of them together: your financial identity. That last one doesn't show up on a balance sheet. You can't calculate it in a spreadsheet, but it's the reason some people hit milestone after milestone and others keep restarting from zero. Because the math will always be there waiting for you. The right moves are never really hidden. What changes everything is finally deciding that you're the kind of person who makes them. That decision, quiet as it is the real milestone. Look, I want to be real with you for a second. If you watched this video and felt a little uncomfortable, that's actually a good sign. Discomfort means something landed. It means part of you recognized something true. And that recognition, that's the beginning of real change. A lot of people will watch a video like this, nod along, feel motivated for about 20 minutes, and then go right back to whatever they were doing before. I don't want that for you. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Just one thing. After this video ends, open a notes app or grab a piece of paper. Go through all 8 milestones and write down honestly where you are on each one. Not where you want to be, where you actually are right now. That exercise, it's uncomfortable, I know, but it's the most financially productive 20 minutes you can spend today. Because clarity creates action, and action is the only thing that actually moves the needle. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to have it all figured out before you start. You just need an honest starting point. And here's something I genuinely believe. Most people who feel behind financially aren't as far behind as they think. They just never stopped to look clearly at where they actually stand. When you really look with honest eyes, you usually find you're closer to the next milestone than you realized. And that feeling, quiet and real and yours, that's what makes the next step possible. Not in a hype kind of way, not a "you've got this, let's go" kind of way, just a genuine, grounded, "okay, I can actually do this." That's the feeling I want you to leave this video with. If this helped you today, hit that thumbs up. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's probably a good time. I put out videos every week on money, mindset, and building real financial security. No fluff, no get-rich-quick stuff, just honest conversations about how money actually works. I'll see you in the next one.